She had buried 4 babies before she made the deal. And on the night she made it, she smiled. That smile was the most dangerous thing Ada ever did. Lagos never sleeps. Even at 2 in the morning, the city breathes, generators humming behind compound walls, okadas weaving through back streets, the smell of suya smoke drifting from a roadside grill that never closes. In a place like Lagos, noise is normal. Chaos is comfort. And secrets. Secrets are as common as traffic on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Ada Coker lived on the quiet end of Surulere, in a flat on the 3rd floor of a yellow building that everyone called Yellow House. She was 32 years old, beautiful in the way that made people uncomfortable, the kind of beauty that stopped conversations mid-sentence. Her husband, Emeka, was a civil engineer. They had been married for 7 years. They drove a silver Camry. They attended church every Sunday. From the outside, their life looked like a billboard for success. But inside Yellow House, behind the painted door and the neck curtains, Ada had a sorrow so deep it had its own weight. She carried it in her jaw, tight and clenched even when she laughed. She carried it in the way she lingered too long in the baby section at ShopRite, touching small yellow socks she never bought. 4 pregnancies. 4 funerals. The last one, a boy they named Chukwemeka Jr., had made it to 9 months before his heart simply stopped. The doctor called it unexplained. Ada called it a curse. Emeka's mother, Mama Emeka, called it something else entirely. That girl is the problem, she would whisper to her son every chance she got, her voice low and wicked over the phone. A woman who cannot hold a pregnancy is carrying something dark inside her. You need to send her back. Find someone clean. Emeka never said those words to Ada's face. But she could see them in the way he had started sleeping on his side of the bed without touching her. She could see them in how he stopped calling her my Ada and started calling her nothing at all. One evening in October, Ada sat alone in the flat. Emeka was away in Abuja on a site inspection. The generator was off. The only light in the room was the pale glow of her phone screen. She was on a forum, one of those late-night places on the internet where desperate women gather and share things they can never say out loud. A thread caught her eye. It had no title, just a phone number. And 3 words below it, she fixes things. Ada stared at that screen for a long time. She told herself she was just curious. She told herself she would never call. She told herself she was a modern woman, educated, sensible. She was not the kind of person who called mystery numbers at midnight. She called. The voice that answered was old and smooth, like polished wood. It did not say hello. It just said, I have been waiting for you. Her name was Mama Ease. She lived in a compound in Ajagunle, not far from the waterfront where the lagoon smelled of salt and rot. She was not what Ada expected. No red eyes. No skulls on the wall. She was a short, fat woman in a blue boo-boo who offered Ada Fanta and groundnuts like she was a regular guest. Sit, Mama Ease said. Tell me what you want. Ada told her. All of it. The 4 babies. The hospital visits. The way her marriage was cracking down the middle like old concrete. Mama Ease listened without blinking. When Ada finished, the old woman nodded slowly. It is not a medical problem, Mama Ease said. I know, Ada whispered. Something is eating what belongs to you before it can grow. Mama Ease got up and moved to a back room. Ada could hear the sound of something being moved, bottles, maybe, or jars. When Mama Ease came back, she was holding a small black clay pot sealed with red wax. I can stop it. I can give you a child that will live. A strong child. A beautiful child. Ada's hands were shaking. How much? Mama Ease shook her head. It is not money I want. The silence in the room became very thick. The child I give you, Mama Ease said, placing the pot on the table between them, will be mine in part. She will carry something. Something deep. Something that belongs to water. She paused. You must never let her be seen in full light by someone who does not love her. Not candlelight. Not torchlight. Not the kind of light people use to expose what they are looking for. If the wrong eyes see her under strong light before she is ready, you will lose her. Not to death. To change. Ada's mouth went dry. What kind of change? Mama Ease just looked at her. And when she is 25, the old woman continued, you must bring her back here. To the water. That is the agreement. A sane woman would have stood up and left. Ada was not sane that night. She was a mother who had run out of road. Yes, Ada said. I agree. Mama Ease cracked the red wax on the pot. A smell like rain and something else, something older than rain, filled the room. 3 weeks later, Ada was pregnant. She told no one about Mama Ease. Not her sister, Ruth. Not her best friend, Kimi. Not even the pastor who prayed for her at church. She kept the secret locked inside her chest like a stone swallowed whole. The pregnancy was different this time. There was no fear. The baby moved constantly, strong and sure, like someone who had no intention of leaving. Ada stopped biting her nails. She started cooking again. She sang in the flat while Emeka watched her from across the room with an expression that was half wonder and half suspicion. His mother still called. Ada stopped picking up. 9 months later, at St. Catherine's Hospital on Bode Thomas Street, Ada gave birth to twins. No one expected twins. The first girl came out screaming, loud, furious, bright-eyed. A nurse wrapped her in pink and held her up like a trophy. Emeka, who had been pacing outside, burst through the door with red eyes and grabbed his daughter like she was made of gold. They called her Sonia. She had her father's round forehead and her mother's stubborn jaw. The second girl came 3 minutes later. She did not cry. The doctor frowned. A nurse rushed forward. But the baby was breathing. Her eyes were already open. Wide, dark, steady, like she had seen the room before and was only mildly interested in returning. Her hair was thick and had a strange shimmer to it, a greenish shadow that the nurses kept blinking at like maybe they were imagining it. Ada looked at that baby and felt 2 things at once, a love so total it was almost painful and a fear she had no name for. They called her Maya. She's unusual, the doctor said, trying to be diplomatic. He ordered extra checks. Everything came back normal on paper. But the nurses on that shift talked about her for weeks. That night, a junior nurse made the mistake of shining a torch directly into Maya's crib to do a routine check. She wanted to see the baby's eyes. The torch was bright, the heavy kind that security men carry. The room turned cold instantly. Every light in the ward flickered. The nurse froze. In the crib, under that harsh beam, Maya's skin rippled, just for a second, just for a breath, with a shimmer that was not human. The nurse dropped the torch and ran out of the ward screaming. By the time the matron arrived, Maya was just a baby again. Sleeping. Peaceful. Ada, who had seen it from her hospital bed, said nothing. She just pulled the curtain closed. She understood now. The agreement was real. The years moved fast the way years do when you have children. Sonia grew into a firework, loud, magnetic, the kind of girl who walked into a room and instantly became the center of it. By the time she was 12, she had opinions about everything and no fear of sharing them. She was captain of her school debate team. She organized the girls on their street. She was the kind of child that made other parents quietly envious. Maya was different. She was the kind of beautiful that made strangers go quiet. Tall, smooth-skinned, with that strange shimmer in her hair that she had learned to hide with dark scarves. She was soft-spoken, gentle. When she looked at you, you felt like she was the only person who truly understood what you meant, even before you finished your sentence. Plants in their flat grew faster when Maya was in the room. Fish in their neighbor's tank would swim to the glass whenever she walked past. Small things. Strange things. Ada kept the flat dim. Dark curtains. Low lighting. Always an excuse, it helps with my headaches or the light bill is too high. Emeka accepted it because Emeka had long learned not to ask too many questions about Ada's quiet rules. He loved his daughters with every cell in his body, but something about Maya made him feel like he was always standing at the edge of a pool he wasn't sure was safe to swim in. He never said that out loud. He was a good man. But good men have doubts they bury alongside everything else. The real problem was Sonia. Sonia was 17 when the jealousy fully arrived. It did not come all at once. It came the way mold comes, slowly, quietly, until one day you look and the whole wall is covered. It started with small, mean things. A whispered comment about Maya's weird hair to a cousin. A lie told to their father, Maya broke your laptop, when it was Sonia who knocked it off the desk. A story told at school that painted Maya as strange, difficult, antisocial. Ada saw it. She chose to believe it would pass. That was her second great mistake. The neighbors on their floor, a family called the Barbatoons, had a son named Dare. He was 20, studying law at Unilag, and he was exactly the kind of young man that made mothers of daughters lose sleep. Not because he was bad. Because he was too good-looking, too confident, too charming, and absolutely aware of all three. He drove a motorcycle his father had bought him, wore cologne that arrived in the room before he did, and smiled at every girl like she was the only girl. He smiled at Sonia first. Sonia smiled back so hard her face hurt for a week. But it was Maya he kept looking at. Not the obvious kind of looking. Not the loud, chest-forward way boys look at pretty girls to show off. This was the quiet kind. The kind where you look once, look away, and then spend the rest of the time finding reasons to be in the same space. The kind that means something. Maya noticed. She pretended she didn't. She had spent her whole life learning to make herself smaller, quieter, less. But something about Dare made her want to take up space again. One evening, during a blackout on the street, which in Lagos meant nothing unusual, Dare knocked on their door to borrow a phone charger. Sonia answered. She was wearing her best outfit because she had been hoping for exactly this kind of accident. She laughed too loud at things that weren't funny. She touched his arm twice. She told him about her debate competition the following week, stretching the story to be twice as long as it needed to be. Dare listened politely. And then Maya walked through the hallway behind Sonia, carrying a cup of tea, not even looking at him. He stopped mid-sentence. "That's my sister," Sonia said. Her voice dropped 1 degree. Just one. But Ada, sitting in the kitchen, heard it. "She seems quiet," Dare said. "She's strange," Sonia said, and smiled as she said it. Not a cruel smile. Not yet. Just a smile with a knife hidden inside it. Sonia did not sleep that night. She lay on her back staring at the ceiling fan going round and round, and she thought about the way Dare had looked at Maya. And the more she thought about it, the more it grew inside her, that hot, tight feeling she had been swallowing her whole life. Everything came to Maya without effort. The beauty. The strangeness that somehow made her more interesting. The way their mother moved around her like she was fragile, precious, the one who needed protecting. Sonia had spent 17 years being the strong one, the loud one, the capable one, and somehow that always seemed to count for less. She knew about the story of the snakes. She had overheard her parents arguing about it years ago, pieced the rest together from fragments. She knew Maya was different. She had just never admitted out loud how much she resented it. That night, she made a decision. She could not have named it as cruelty. She told herself it was just truth-telling, just setting things right. The next morning, she went downstairs and knocked on the Barbatoon flat. Dare opened the door in a white singlet, half asleep, eating bread. Sonia pushed past him. "I need to tell you something about my sister," she said. "And you're going to want to hear it." Some truths are not told out of love. They are told out of hunger. And what Sonia fed Dare that morning was not truth at all. It was the most dangerous thing a person can serve someone who trusts them, a lie dressed in the clothes of concern. She told him Maya was sick. Not normal sick, she said, leaning forward with the practiced gravity of someone who has rehearsed their lines. Like, deeply not well. She has episodes. She destroys things. There was a whole incident at school you don't know about. She shook her head, put her hand on his arm. "I'm telling you because I don't want you to get hurt. She seems sweet, I know. But she's not what you think." Dare listened. He frowned. He asked questions. Sonia answered every one. She left his flat 40 minutes later feeling something she mistook for power. But Dare was not a fool. He was young and vain, yes. He loved a mirror more than was healthy. But he had been raised by a mother who taught him one rule above all others. Never take one person's word about another person without giving that person a chance to speak. He thought about what Sonia had said for 2 days. And then, On a Wednesday evening when the street was calm and the generator was off and soft darkness had settled over the building, he knocked on the coca door again. Maya opened it. She was in an old t-shirt and jeans. No makeup. The scarves she usually wore to cover her hair were off and her hair fell loose around her shoulders, catching the weak light from inside the flat with that strange shimmer. She looked startled. Then she looked at him with those steady, dark eyes and simply said, "Hello. Can we talk?" Dare asked. "Not inside. Outside. Down by the gate." Maya looked behind her. Her mother was not in the room. She stepped out. They sat on the low concrete bench near the generator shed. The compound was quiet. The gateman, old Barbaladi, was asleep in his chair. The night was warm and the air smelled of fried plantain from somebody's window. They talked for 3 hours. Not about anything dramatic. About small things first, his law school, her love of drawing, the best bowl spot in Soyulia, the fact that they both hated the way Lagos radio stations played the same 10 songs every day. And then about bigger things. What it felt like to be the second child in a family where the first child took all the oxygen in the room. What it felt like to know you were different from everyone around you and not fully understand why. What it meant to want a normal life so badly it sat in your chest like a brick. Maya had never said those things to anyone. She had barely said them to herself. "Your sister told me something about you," Dare said carefully. Maya went still. "What did she say?" He told her. Honestly, clearly, without softening it. Maya was quiet for a long time. The generator from the flat upstairs coughed to life, throwing yellow light down into the compound. Maya shifted automatically, turning her face slightly away from the beam. Dare noticed. "You do that," he said gently. "Avoid the light." "It bothers my eyes," she said. He did not push it. He just nodded. "She's wrong about you," he said finally. "I don't know what her reasons are. But she's wrong." Maya looked at him. Something moved behind her eyes. Gratitude, maybe. Or the first cracking open of something that had been sealed shut for a very long time. "You don't know anything about me," she said. "I know enough," he said. "I know that whatever you're carrying, you've been carrying it alone. And I know that's not fair." She stood up. She looked down at him on the bench. And she made a decision that her mother would have begged her not to make. "Come back tomorrow," she said. "Same time." Ada found out about Dare on a Friday. It was not Maya who told her. It was their neighbor Mrs. Barbatund who mentioned, in the cheerful, weaponized way of compound gossip, that her son Dare had been sitting outside with Ada's daughter 3 nights running. "They look so sweet together," Mrs. Barbatund said, squeezing Ada's hand. "Young love, ABI." Ada came home and sat at the kitchen table and did not move for an hour. Emeka came in from work and found her there, staring at the wall. He dropped his briefcase. "Ada, what happened?" She told him some of it. Not all of it. She told him Maya was seeing someone from the compound. That it was dangerous. That the girl could not be in a serious relationship. Not yet. Not until certain things were settled. Emeka looked at his wife with the long, tired look of a man who had spent 20 years accepting answers that were not full answers. Why can't she date someone? She's 23. "Because I said so," Ada said. It was the wrong answer. Emeka pushed back his chair, walked to the window, and said something he had never said in all their years together. "Ada, you have been hiding something since before those girls were born. I have let it go. I have looked away. But I am their father. Whatever is happening with Maya, I need to know the truth." Ada stood up. She walked to him. She looked at him and she thought about all the years of silence and all the weight of the secret she had been dragging alone, and something cracked open in her chest. She told him everything. The 4 dead babies. The night she called that number. The woman in Ajagunal. The pot. The deal. The rule about light. The agreement about bringing Maya to the water at 25. All of it. Emeka listened without moving. When she finished, the room was so quiet they could hear Barbaladi's radio through the window 2 floors below. "You made a deal," Emeka said slowly. "With something. About our daughter. Without telling me." "I was desperate. You made a deal about our daughter's life." His voice was not loud. That was what frightened Ada more than anything. Emeka's anger was not the loud kind. It was the cold, flat kind. You let me raise a child I didn't know the full truth about. For 23 years. She's alive, Ada whispered. She's here. She's beautiful and healthy and she's alive, Emeka. And you want to take her back to that woman at 25. He shook his head. And you never asked her. Ada had no answer for that. Sonia, who had been standing in the dark hallway outside the kitchen door for the last 15 minutes, heard everything. Every word. She stood there with her hand over her mouth and her back against the cold wall, and she felt the world reorganize itself around her in a way that was violent and disorienting. The jealousy she had carried like a right, like something she deserved, suddenly looked different in this new information. Ugly. Petty. Shameful. Her sister was not chosen over her. Her sister was bought at a price neither of them had been asked to pay. Sonia went to her room and sat on the edge of her bed and looked at her hands for a very long time. Then she picked up her phone and called Dare. I need to tell you something, she said. Something I did. Something I need to fix. The following night, Dare found Maya at the bench again. But this time, his face was different. Serious. He did not sit down immediately. He stood in front of her and said, Your sister came to me yesterday and told me things about you that were not true. I already knew they weren't true. But I want you to know that she came back and told me she lied. Maya looked at him. Sonia came to you. She cried, he said simply. She said she was sorry. She told me to protect you. Maya said nothing. She looked up at the sky above the compound. Lagos sky, orange and purple from city light, stars barely visible through the haze. She thought about her whole life. The dark rooms. The scarves. The way she had never been able to run towards sunlight the way other girls did. The dream she had where she was underwater and it felt like home. I have to tell you something, she said. You don't have to. I want to. She looked at him. For once, I want someone to know me. All of me. She told him. Not the mystical version her mother knew. Maya's version, the version of a young woman who had grown up knowing she was different, not fully human in some way she didn't have words for, but still hungry for connection and love and ordinary Tuesday evenings and the smell of rice cooking and someone to watch movies with. She told him about the light. About what her mother had said would happen if strong light found her before she was ready. She didn't know if she believed it. But she was scared. She had been scared her whole life. Dare sat with this. He did not run. He did not flinch. What do you want? He asked. Not what did her mother want. Not what did the deal say. What did Maya want? No one had ever asked her that. She thought about it for a long time. I want to choose, she finally said. Whatever happens, I want it to be my choice. The thing Sonia did next, the thing that undid all of it, was not done out of cruelty. That is the terrible part. She did it out of guilt. She had been up for 2 nights feeling sick about the lie she had told Dare, about all the small cruelties she had aimed at her sister her whole life. She wanted to make it right. She wanted to fix it. She was 24 years old and she still believed that if you felt bad enough about something, you could balance it out with one big good action. She went to her mother. Mama, she said, I think Maya should know the full truth. Not the half version. Everything. She's 23 years old. She should know about the agreement, the woman in Ajigunle, what happens when she's 25. She should know everything and be allowed to decide for herself. Ada looked at her oldest daughter for a long time. You were listening. Yes. Ada closed her eyes. Sonia. She deserves the truth, Mama. Ada knew she was right. That was the worst part. She had always known. And so that Sunday afternoon, she called both her daughters into the living room. She drew the curtains even though it was day. She turned on the small yellow lamp in the corner. And she told them everything, from the beginning, the pregnancies, the grief, the night she called the number, the woman, the deal, the rules, the timeline. When she finished, Sonia was crying. Maya was not. Maya sat very still with her hands folded in her lap and her face perfectly calm in the way that meant she was holding something enormous very carefully. You sold part of me, Maya said quietly, before I existed. I was trying to save you, Ada whispered. I know. Maya looked at her mother. I know you love me. I have never doubted that. She paused. But you made a choice about my life that I didn't get to make. And now I'm being asked to go to this woman, this river, this place, because of a deal I didn't sign. If you don't go, Ada said, we don't know what happens. Then I want to go and ask, Maya said. Not to complete the deal. To renegotiate it. Ada blinked. Renegotiate. I am not the same baby you traded away, Mama. I am a grown woman. And if there is something of mine that belongs to that water, then I want to go there and speak for myself. They went to Ajagun on a Thursday. All four of them, Ada, Emeka, Sonia, and Maya. And Dare, who had asked to come and had been told no and had shown up at the car anyway, and Maya had looked at him and said, Get in. Mama Ease was still there. Smaller than Ada remembered. Older. She opened the door before they knocked and looked at Maya for a long time without speaking. You grew, the old woman said finally. Yes, Maya said. You look like her. Like who? Mama Ease tilted her head toward the back of the compound, where Ada knew the waterfront was. Call me. They all walked. Past the compound wall, down a short path of cracked concrete and old tires, to the edge of the lagoon. The water was brown and still. The afternoon light turned it gold. The agreement was made, Mama Ease said. The child was given. Now she is 23 and she must return. I am here, Maya said, stepping forward. Dare moved forward with her without being asked. But I am here to speak. Not to be handed over. Mama Ease studied her. What I am, Maya continued. Whatever lives in me, I have been carrying it my whole life. I have not run from it. I have not destroyed anything. I have not become a danger to anyone. Her voice was steady. I am asking to carry it on my own terms. To live my life. Not to disappear into this water because of a bargain my mother made when she was desperate. Mama Ease was quiet for a long time. The water moved softly. Something below the surface, large, slow, ancient, shifted. And the light? The old woman asked. Have you seen yourself in the light? No, Maya admitted. Then you do not know what you are asking. A silence fell over all of them. Emeka put his hand on Ada's shoulder. Sonia reached for her sister's hand. Maya stood very still. Then something extraordinary happened. Dare reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He turned on the torch, the bright white kind that cuts through real darkness, and he held it up. He looked at Maya. Whatever you are, he said, I want to see it. Dare Ada grabbed at his arm. She said she wants to choose, he said firmly. This is her choice. He looked at Maya. Only at Maya. Do you want to see yourself? He asked softly. For real. No hiding. I'll hold the light and you decide. The lagoon went completely still. Even the city noise seemed to drop. Mama Ease stood back. Maya looked at Dare for a long moment. Then she looked at her mother, at the fear, the love, the 23 years of sacrifice and secrets all sitting in Ada's face at once. She looked at her sister, who was holding her hand so tight the knuckles had gone pale. She looked at the water. Then she nodded. Dare raised the light. It hit Maya full in the face, sharp, white, unforgiving. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then her skin began to shimmer. Not a frightening shimmer. Not the monstrous kind. A breathtaking kind, deep green and gold, like sunlight hitting the deepest part of a river. Her hair lifted slightly, not in wind, but as if the water nearby was calling to it. Her eyes, for just a moment, were not dark. They were lit from inside, ancient and calm and full of something that had no name in any language spoken in Lagos or anywhere else. She was the most beautiful thing any of them had ever seen. Sonia made a sound like she had been punched gently in the chest. Ada put her hand over her mouth. And then it passed. Maya was Maya again, tall, smooth-skinned, steady. But her eyes were still lit. Mama Ease stared at her for a long time. She did not change, the old woman said, slowly. Almost to herself. No, Maya said calmly. I did not. Mama Ease crouched slowly, dipped her hand in the lagoon. The water rippled outward in a long, slow circle. She waited, as if she was listening for something. Then she stood back up. The water says she has already passed the test, Mama Ease said. The rule was never that she could not see the light. The rule was that she could not be seen by eyes that feared her. Eyes that looked at her only to run. She looked at Dare, then at the family around Maya. Every eye here that saw the light stayed. She paused. The debt is paid. It is done. Ada collapsed forward. Emeka caught her. Later, much later, when the sun had gone down and they were back in the flat in Surulere and the curtains were open for the first time in 23 years, letting the city light pour freely in, Sonia sat beside Maya on the old couch. I'm so sorry, Sonia said. Not for the first time that week. But this time it carried everything she had never been able to say, all the years of jealousy and cruelty and small sabotages and the lie she had told Dare that could have ruined everything. Maya looked at her sister. You called him back, she said. You told him the truth. Too late. Not too late. Maya leaned her head against her sister's shoulder. You came with me today. You held my hand. She paused. That's not nothing, Sonia. Sonia cried. She did not make it quiet or dignified. She cried the way people cry when they have been holding something ugly inside them for far too long and the only way it can come out is all at once. Maya held her. Across the room, Ada and Emeka sat together at the table. The yellow lamp was still on. But Ada did not blow it out. For the first time, she let it burn. Dare found Maya on the balcony an hour later. She was standing with her arms on the railing, looking down at the street below, the Okadas weaving, the food seller pushing her cart, the small children still running in the compound despite the hour, the city being endlessly, chaotically, entirely itself. How do you feel? He asked. She thought about it. Like something that was locked is open, she said. He stood beside her. What happens now? I live, she said simply. I live in the light. He smiled. She saw it from the side, that quiet smile. She had spent 23 years wondering what she was. Water spirit's child. Curse carrier. The strange one. The one that had to be hidden. And standing on this balcony in this loud, beautiful city with this man beside her and her family behind her and the city's noise all around her, she felt, for the first time in her whole life, like the answer was simply, herself. Not half of something else. Not the price of a bargain. Not a burden wrapped in beauty. Herself. And that was more than enough. Ada never went back to Mama Ease. She did not need to. But on the first Sunday after everything, she woke at dawn and walked to the nearest open church and sat in the back row alone and said thank you for a very long time. Sonia went on to win a major national debate competition that same year. In her closing argument, she spoke about the price of envy and what it costs the people you love. Nobody in the hall knew she was speaking from her own life. But they gave her a standing ovation. Emeka installed proper lighting in every room of the flat. He never spoke about what he had been told on that Friday night, not to anyone outside the family. But he hugged his daughters a little tighter from then on. Both of them, equally. And Maya. Maya began painting. Big, vivid paintings on canvas, of water, of light, of things that lived between the surface and the deep. A gallery in Victoria Island showed her work 6 months later. The critic from a Lagos arts magazine wrote that her paintings had a quality he could not name. Something ancient. Something that made you feel seen. She sold every single one. The greatest prison is not made of walls. It is made of secrets kept by people who love you too much to let you be free. This story is for every person who has been told that their truth is too dangerous to show in the light. You were never the curse. You were always the miracle.